Dallas is my home. I made my home there. I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there.
The amount of emojis in these messages, it needs to stop.
Frank Schwab's NFL free agency grades so far. I actually don't feel like that we should be giving the 49ers an F.
Bengals and Steelers just marked incomplete.
Until they get Aaron Rodgers off the beach, they are incomplete. We are 2 days away from Selection Sunday. How's life? Incredible. But there is some bad news. Cooper Flagg of Duke and Mikey, trigger warning, this happened.
I'm not watching. You can tell me.
This is what's got me upset. What's got me looking like Ben Johnson on the photo on the right, okay, is all the drama that's coming out of Dallas with the Cowboys. So I don't know if you guys saw this. There is some beef going on between DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons, all right? So let me just give you a little bit of a backstory. The DeMarcus Lawrence did this interview here, and let me see if I got it for the full clip. Now that he's with the Seahawks, okay, and this is what he says.
Dallas is my home. I made my home there. My family lives there. I'm forever going to be there, but, I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there. So, yeah.
We here.
Okay.
DeMarcus Lawrence, welcome.
He's taking shots at Dallas. Micah Parsons, who's very famous for being quite active on Twitter, or X, excuse me, said, this is what rejection and envy looks like. This is some clown. And then DeMarcus Lawrence responded once again saying, calling me a clown won't change the fact that I told the truth. Maybe if you spent less time tweeting and more time winning, I wouldn't have left. Pretty messy, all out in the open. These two dudes were in the same defensive line room in Dallas for the last, 4 or 5 years? Like, DeMarcus Lawrence has been there for 10 years. Micah Parsons, I think, since 2021. So these guys know each other quite well. What are your thoughts on this and airing all of this out in public?
The amount of emojis in these messages, it needs to stop. Just stop.
That's funny.
That's true.
Adult man with an emoji in his texting vocabulary. It's tough to see.
You cannot be trying to have a real life adult argument and then throw in an emoji, even if it is the cool looking purple devil emoji. Like, none of these fly. It's just as bad as doing this little monkey emoji where the monkey is like covering the eyes. If you're a grown man and you ever use that emoji, you need to rethink your life. Okay. Don't ever use that emoji for any circumstance at all. I'm wondering, you're right. This is super Gen Z. This is very Gen Z of Micah Parsons. He's like kind of this new era of athlete. Like, he's got a podcast. He speaks his mind on social media quite a bit. Like, we know he's not reminiscent of some of these old silent type athletes. Do you guys think that this makes things more interesting as a sports fan to see kind of this drama and really get this access to sort of the inner workings of these guys? Do you think it makes it more interesting, or you're just like, I don't want to see this. This is a distraction?
I get the appeal and the desire for a lot of people to kind of like dive into it. But at the same time, I don't know if sports, especially professional sports, is the place that this needs to grow. It's fine if it comes out every once in a while, because if you're talking about locker room problems or issues along those lines and people are still on the team, that's far more interesting, because that actually has ramifications to gameplay or whatever comes out onto the court, field, what have you. But this kind of stuff, it just feels as though it's TMZ sort of stuff that's coming out. Yeah. And it's just like, it's not terribly interesting for a lot of people who are just like here to watch great game and great competition.
Yeah. Also,
especially for the NFL. Yeah. Like, maybe the NBA needs to lean into drama to garner more viewership, but the NFL doesn't need that.
True. The NBA can lean on their TMZ corner and some of their drama like this. This just feels also from an organization like Dallas that it just feels kind of on brand right now for what Dallas has been. It's been a little bit noisy. It's been a little bit underachieving. And it's like, clearly this is where some of the energy is going to. Now, who knows? Maybe now that these two guys who clearly do not like each other very much, maybe the camaraderie within the Dallas Cowboys will improve a little bit. But I find this just to be like, similar to stuff that we talked about in the last episode. It's like, keep this offline, bro. Like, if you've got a problem with each other, all right, text him or call him, but just that doing this online for it to live forever and everybody to get to see the dirty laundry, it's just very unbecoming.
Yeah, this is the Gen Z version of us millennials posting on people's walls on Facebook as though it's a DM. That's the same sort of mechanism here. But going back to it, I do find it a little surprising that it's, well, to a certain degree, I find it a little surprising that Micah is the one who's calling him out, because Micah's also been pretty vocal about his disgruntled feelings toward the organization, the Cowboys, and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, he's defending it when contract conversations are coming up and everything like that. So, and I'm talking about this being like not even that long ago, month and a half, 2 months ago, Micah being like, peace out on the Cowboys and all that kind of stuff. So it's just like, hey man, you're clearly dunking on your own organization, and then all of a sudden you're coming to the defense of the organization. Like, pick a lane. Like, you either like them or you don't.
Yeah, it's almost like the situation where, okay, I can make fun of Mikey, okay, but if somebody else comes and makes fun of Mikey, I'm like, hey, don't say that about my brother.
Yeah.
No matter how ugly he is, okay? So it's clear like
Easy.
Oh, that's the way you went.
So,
This is the other thing about Gen Z athletes, that this interaction is seeing how they communicate with the emojis. These are the type of guys who, like, in college that I play with, they're always like, it's bag season. Get your bag. And do the little money bag or the briefcase on their posts of whatever football picture. The worst type of personality. The last person you want to see succeed. Bag season? Just play the sport. How about?
No, it's bag season. It's bag season. All right, last thing on this topic. What do you think actually is the worst, most cringy emoji for a grown man to use? I throw out this monkey one covering the eyes that just screams pathetic. What's your worst emoji?
Any of those three monkey ones, the covering the mouth, the ears, or the eyes.
The one where steam blows out of the guy's nose. Like,
Oh,
think it's tough.
Or you
that kind of combination.
That's one guy who does. I'm locked in. It's bag season. Steam emoji out the nose. Money. There we have it. So this is just what we have to look forward to with Gen Z and younger athletes. Thank you, Micah Parsons and Mikey Alfieri, your generation. Okay. Let's switch generations. I want to talk to somebody or talk about somebody, kind of an old timer. Okay. And that's Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, this is kind of a really sick photo. He was caught spotted alone on the beach with a blanket and earphones, corded earphones, by the way. He's not about any of that AirPod stuff. Protect the brain. He is contemplating whether or not he wants to keep playing in the NFL. Rumor has it that it has come down to the Giants and the Steelers. Thoughts on this, on another offseason with kind of Aaron Rodgers drama and us continuing to talk about him and his offseason choices? Does he want to keep playing? Is he going to do another silent retreat? What do you think?
I don't have as much hate about this. Like, I know a lot of people are frustrated with the timing and him taking his time, and people are just like, let's just announce it already. The dude is essentially deciding one of the biggest life choices he has. It's either going to be the time in which he jumps off the cliff into retirement, which is a whole bag or a whole can of worms for him. And he's probably thinking about this. So like, him taking the time to make this decision, I have zero problems with it. And there's really no rush outside of fans just wanting the information here and now.
Yeah. So think about Tom Brady. Retire, unretire.
Yeah.
When they're that good, it's going to be a difficult decision to go back and forth on. Give them some space. It's fun to watch them wallow in the decision.
Yeah.
Pictures like this.
Look at it. This is an iconic image. This guy's contemplated a 20-year NFL career, one of the greatest that we've ever been blessed to watch on the football field. And then he gives us this TMZ snapshot, just so clearly deep in thoughts and contemplating what he's going to do. I'm a fan of Aaron Rodgers giving us stuff like this. Okay. And I would prefer to see him, if he does continue to play, to end up with the Steelers than with the Giants. I feel like if he goes with the Giants, it's going to be Jets 2.0. I feel like the Giants would be asking him to do a similar thing that the Jets did, is like, kind of come in and save us, Aaron, which that's tough for anybody to do, let alone a quarterback that's in his 40s. Steelers have more things in place, I feel like, to where he could come in and actually have a little bit of success and maybe even make the playoffs. So, Aaron, if you're listening to us with your headphones on right there, go to the Steelers, man. Okay.
Yeah. Talk about, like, he's a student of the game. He has high respect for just the NFL at large and the history and what it means and everything like that. And I think the appropriate move for a guy of his caliber and his stature would be to go to an organization like the Steelers, because it is so rich in NFL history and it has that, and it just has continuity in its program and organization. It also just makes a whole lot of sense in terms of just the coaching staff, the longevity, the lack of chaos. I mean, there are some negatives that come along with the Steelers organization, and like Yinzers would be the first ones to tell you, like, there are a lot of things that go on that really frustrate them because of their continuity and everything like that, and complacency, as you would say, Nick.
Yes.
But ultimately, it's a very stable organization that I think someone like Aaron Rodgers could benefit from, because he just experienced something, an organization that was more tumultuous, and it didn't go the way he planned. So I think he needs to go out with an organization that has a rich history, potentially win one for that organization who's been on a drought for quite some time, and then just, fade off into the sunset, get those negative ions from the ocean.
Yeah. Hey, walk off onto the beach just like you're doing right now without a blanket. Okay. I'm with you right there. So go have a little bit of stability in Pittsburgh. Okay. I wanted to touch on this because we're just right in the middle of a free agency, and a lot of moves have been made here. And for those just listening, we're just looking at Frank Schwab's NFL free agency grades so far. And we got three teams down with an F, including the 49ers. We talked a lot about the 49ers the other day. I actually don't feel like that we should be giving the 49ers an F. I mean, obviously they've had to make some difficult decisions, but those are moves that will theoretically open them up for some long-term success. So I think,
Sorry.
What, Mike?
Finish up. Sorry.
No, I lost my train of thought. I have nothing to say.
Sorry. No. I thought you were winding down. Bengals and Steelers just marked incomplete. Is that
incomplete
what that is?
until they get Aaron Rodgers off the beach. They are incomplete.
Okay.
But what jumps out to you guys? Like I was saying, 49ers, I feel like they don't deserve an F. Anything jump out for you guys?
It is the Bears. It seems like Ben Johnson, him coming into the organization, he's given them a sense of direction. Clearly it's about O-line and D-line, and they've been focusing on the former far more, which is really what they need to do, because Caleb Williams, one, was running for his life, and then two, even when he had time, he just was so shell-shocked that he had to run, or thought he had to run for his life in moments. So I think the Bears, they probably deserve an A+ with how they've been showing up the offensive line and trying to do their best to maximize the talent that they have on the roster right now, and make sure that it can perform to the degree or the potential that they think it can.
God, and I'm sorry, but this was just floating across everything the other day. It's just, hey, you guys are meeting with Russell Wilson, apparently, okay, after you've already dropped $300 million on a quarterback. And just let's take a moment here to look at what the Browns gave up. Look at this. Baker.
42 seconds left to go, third quarter.
Okay. I mean, and just seeing how Baker has just blossomed in Tampa Bay. He does everything. Catches, touchdown passes. Scott, I would like for you to revisit this painful, emotional situation and just can you defend the choice to get rid of Baker?
No, it's increasingly more difficult. And I don't think I wasn't on the train of getting rid of him. There was clearly something going on in the locker room. That was when OBJ was still there. OBJ Senior was getting into the mix and talk about locker room issues and TMZ and all that kind of stuff. He just threw a wrench into that whole thing. There was also rumors that him and Stefanski weren't getting along. But I mentioned this last episode. Like, Baker Mayfield has had a stupid number of offensive coordinators. I think every season he's had a new guy. So to expect that he would be able to take his game to the next level without like a string of at least 2 years of the same dude at the offensive coordinator, or 3 years at that, is a high ask. The Browns have a bad tendency of, one, drafting horribly, and then two, just trying to clean slate way too soon in some respects. And I think Baker was a product or a casualty of that latter approach.
We got to pivot here to college basketball because we are 2 days away from Selection Sunday right now. Okay. And this tweet was going around: boys without girlfriends, how's life? This guy responds, incredible. Look at this. The scores of college basketball right now. going into overtime. We got the ACC tournament, all of the conference tournaments as we wrap up the regular season and are getting into March Madness. But there is some bad news. Okay, we were talking about him in the last show, Cooper Flagg of Duke, and Mikey. Trigger warning, okay, because in their game the other night, this happened. Here we go. Let's take a look.
I'm not watching. You can tell me.
Okay. God, dang it. Comes down. He's lucky. He's lucky. I did this exact thing in 7th or 8th grade basketball, and my tibia and fibula snapped in half. It was this exact movement, just the ankle rolling, coming down in. So he's actually
over.
Yeah, it's over. It's over. He's really lucky that is just a sprained ankle. But now this is terrible timing. First of all, he's not going to be able to finish the ACC tournament. Second of all, is he even going to be ready for March Madness? I mean, this thing is coming next week, and a sprained ankle like that can have you out for weeks. Thoughts on this, Scott?
Yeah, it's one thing for us 6'1", 6'2" guys to roll ankles, but it's another thing for a dude that's 6'9" and has the hops like Cooper Flagg to do this. Like, the lower extremity injuries are essentially like death sentences for a lot of these tall guys. Depending on the severity of this, I mean, it looks really bad. It reminds me of Willis McGahee back in the early
that was
they were facing Ohio State in the national championship. Like,
terrible.
Ooh. But this, I mean, hopefully he can come back and can play at least in the second round of the tournament, because you need to give this some time to heal. This looks like it's going to be an absolute balloon on his.
I mean, even if he comes back in the second round, that's not much time. I mean, what is that? That's probably 10 days, 12 days from now. I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's like, Mike, you've had ankle injuries. Tell me, how was it?
Here's what he should do, actually. Get into the ocean every day, as long as he can. The salt water will get all the swelling out. The ocean heals.
Have you ever been in the Atlantic Ocean?
No, our family doesn't go to the Atlantic Ocean. We go to the Pacific.
We go to the Pacific Ocean, Scott.
Like a real family.
Yeah.
Atlantic Ocean.
Those other oceans are too general. One time, after one of our CFL tryouts, where I had all of the best numbers by the day, by far, okay, but I rolled my ankle on like one of the last one-on-ones of the day, and it was ballooned up. And I had another tryout like a week later, and I was down in California, and I just went to the ocean every day and just stood in the ocean, let the waves come over, and I was good to go a week later. It was a bad spring, but the ocean cures that stuff. You were asking me about my ankle injury?
Yes, I was.
Well, it's hard for me to talk about.
Okay.
In high school, my ankle snapped in half, kind of like that. Okay. Kind of like that picture, but worse. It was so bad. I went to get surgery. The surgeon, he's an ankle specialist. He only does ankle surgeries. And he came out of my surgery and sat down next to our mother. And it was just like, man, that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I don't know if it's going to work. I didn't hear that till years later, of course. But he did say, the guy had no bedside manner. After the surgery, I'm like, okay, it was good. I'll be able to play football next year, right? And he goes, oh, I don't know. I don't think you'll ever run again without a limp. Telling that to a 14-year-old. And
well, he's
it worked.
Medical doctor. He doesn't have very good social skills. And
but you know what you do? You meditate every day and you visualize blood and healing platelets going to the ankle, and it works.
Okay, Cooper Flagg, I hope you're listening to this. Mikey's an expert at ankle injuries. Also, go to the ocean, stand on the beach right next to Aaron Rodgers. While he thinks about his life, you can fix your ankle. I mean, I'm a little bit worried for Duke headed into the tournament, because Cooper Flagg led them the entire season in every single major category: minutes, points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks. Couple other categories that I can't remember right now.
100 other things.
98 others. And so going into this, I mean, this team is pretty Cooper Flagg reliant. What do you think? Do you think this is going to be a big deal?
Yeah, it would be more concerning if it weren't an organization like Duke. They definitely have the caliber of player to be able to like step in and fill that role. that certain other schools don't necessarily have. But you're right. I mean, he was clearly the linchpin of this offense and this team at large. So it's always a big question mark when you lose somebody that's so important to everything about the program and everything, the flow of the offense, the flow of the defense.
I know he's like kind of one of the faces of college basketball right now and of the turn. I know I was super excited to watch Cooper Flagg in the tournament, and I'll be pretty upset if he cannot entertain me during March Madness, which is what I know he hopes to do. Duke is playing UNC for the third time this year, so they have to now play them without Cooper Flagg, obviously. Do you think that UNC can finally beat Duke given the circumstances? They lost both times this season, and UNC is like kind of a bubble team for the tournament. They've got a lot riding on this. What do you think?
Yeah, this is going to be a great game. We were talking about the final game of the regular season and how it broke records in terms of viewership. My point still stands is that UNC's back's against the wall and they're actually fighting for something, where whenever these two guys kind of face off, I said it, they're generally both going to the tournament. This one, I think USC is going to come in with a vengeance and a fire, and have the opportunity to actually get the W so that they have a chance.
I'm wondering, I mean, so as we're talking of UNC right now, do you think when we're with like the selection Sunday and choosing teams that make it into the tournament, there is too much big brand bias? Obviously, there's the 31 auto bids of people who win or schools who win their conference, but then there's the at-large bids. And I think within that, there's a lot of talk about these big brand schools such as UNC really getting the benefit of the doubt over some of these smaller kind of mid-major schools. What do you think?
Yeah, it's an unfortunate outcome of reality. It's just, at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, the chances of you having a better product with a brand name like UNC and what they bring to the table, the type of recruits they're able to bring in, or the caliber of recruits they're able to bring in, the chances that you have a higher caliber product on the court is much higher than if you bring in we were talking about St. Peter's. You never know what you're going to get with them. You could get a Cinderella story. You could also get a 50-point blowout. So I understand them defaulting to a team that just on paper is better.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm with you on there. It is kind of hard to argue against the big brand. I mean, like in all the history, when you think of North Carolina, Michael Jordan and the UNC Tar Heels for all these decades kind of being one of the premier brands, not just in college basketball, but in college sports in general. I'm wondering what you think of this. This tweet got a lot of action, and I'm very curious for both of your guys' opinions on this. It's not outlandish to say that college basketball is a better sport than college football right now. And I think that's a bold take. Okay. If you're going to make this take, all right, this is the best time to do it because we are stepping right into one of the most unique and interesting moments of the sports calendar year with March Madness. But I do think that this actually, Matthew Waitley, is a little outlandish to say. Dare I say? What do you guys think?
Only the tournament is, and that's the only entertaining part about college basketball is March Madness. So I guess this chunk, compared to maybe the college football tournament, is more entertaining. But as a product as a whole, not even close.
It's interesting. Okay, sorry, Scott. We go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I think 3-4 years ago, I think there would be far more oomph and credence to what he's saying here because college basketball has a longer period of it being incredible, right? So all of March, including a little bit of February when conference tournaments start and the end of the season is coming to a close, and there's a lot of competition and everything's ramped up. Whereas like in college football, I think now that we're in the era of a 12-team playoff, I think it's definitely surpassed March Madness, or it has the opportunity to once we get 3-4 years down the line and it gets sharpened and we figure that out a little more. So I don't think this was the right time to state this, but there is some element of truth here.
Oh, it's
like we talked about this last episode. The one thing that college basketball has is that it has more opportunity for a Cinderella story of some little no-name team to surge up to the top.
Yeah.
I think that's like one of the only things college basketball has over college football.
Yeah, I mean that is their argument to be made, or the argument that actually has a little bit of credibility here. I do think that when you're thinking about sports in terms of kind of big moments. The March Madness is an especially big and unique moment. However, college football, it feels like it's more sustained. The story and what we pay attention to is more sustained throughout the entire football season for all of those months. Like we certainly don't feel the same way throughout the entire college basketball season as we do throughout the entire college football season. Couple that with the NFL just bringing attention to football, the fact that college football games are on Saturday, it's kind of, you can look at it as like a warm up weekly for the NFL. I think that it's a bit outlandish to say, but I would let college basketball possibly say they have the best single moment of these two. Even that is debatable.
Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to articulate there, but doing a terrible job at is I think men's college basketball has a much better postseason than, say, college football. But that's all since changed since we increased the CFP to 12 teams. And It's only going to get better once we get more years and better, call it like selection in the process. And we figure that formula out. So I think it has been, but it probably won't remain.
Yeah, the previous college football postseason was a little bit brutal with all of these random bowl games and El Paso and the Sun Bowl of all these 6-6 teams that are just money grabs, and the players are playing with no emotion, and all the best players are sitting out. Now that we have the 12-team playoff, okay, sit down, Matthew Waitley.
And there was also There was also a problem with like the BCS system, right? Is while people and players weren't getting paid on the surface with contracts and NIL and all that kind of stuff, more backdoor stuff. It was also like there was a loose formula as to who got selected to go to the quote unquote national championship, which happened to be one of the 5 BCS bowls. So there wasn't like a definitive objective. No, this is the national champion. This is the best team because they went through the rigors of a tournament and ended up on top. So like, that's why March Madness was so cool, is because like you could point to a single team and be like, no, they made it. They made it through the entire process. And yeah, there's a little bit of arbitrariness to their placement and their seeding and everything like that, but it was still a much more structured and definitive champion. Whereas like college football for a long time didn't necessarily have that. It was just like, yeah, they are the best team. They won that bowl game. So, but you never got the apples to apples. Oh, what if they had played the winner of the Cotton Bowl? Like, would they have won? Don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you cannot hide in a 64-team tournament. Like, to advance, you must play the other teams and win. Whereas there's selecting teams for different rankings in college football. The college football should continue to expand their playoff. We got 64 teams, March Madness style. It takes about 2.5 months. That's where we're headed. Okay. And that's
just take a page out of the book of the FCS. That's all I'm saying. Is like, they've been doing it for years. Like, we can't implement that with D1 single A.
Yeah. Hey,
you remember youth football jamborees?
Yes. Whoa.
Try something like that. 4 prorated games in a day. That's how you get that tournament going.
Jamborees were crazy. Let's get a college football jamboree. All right, let's move on real quick to a little bit of NBA stuff and some kind of absurd branding from Southwest. Okay, so Southwest Airlines decided there are no more free bags. Okay, they're not allowing that anymore. And in order to combat this, they tweeted and posted this on all of their social medias. It's not like we traded Luka. The Southwest Air is really feeling like they did something here with this moment. What do you guys think?
Southwest Airlines is under hot water for not entering into the 21st century as all the other airlines are seemingly doing.
Delete it.
Never happened.
No, delete the most. So, way to go, Southwest Airlines.
What's worse, the Luka trade or letting Saquon slip?
Or posting this from Southwest?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
That would be like the Giants posting, at least we're not the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly. Yeah. What do you think is worse? That's a good question. Letting Saquon go or trading Luka?
I think trading Luka because it's real deliberate. The Saquon thing was more just slipped out of your fingers. It was just kind of like, I'm incompetent. The Luka thing was a deliberate, malicious type of decision.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if you can argue through it, but on paper, the Mavs have a squad, and with this trade, they acquired Anthony Davis. They have Klay Thompson. They have Kyrie Irving. Granted, he got injured. All that kind of stuff. They have a solid roster even after this trade. So it's like, ooh, maybe you can argue this, but you're also trading away like the potential or a potential Mount Rushmore guy. So it's hard in the moment, but with the Giants, like, dude, I think that was calculated that to move off, and he just made the wrong calculation.
Yeah, I mean, at least the Mavericks got something for Luka. The Giants just lost Saquon.
Yeah.
They saved $7 million. Good job, bro.
And they also got rid of the one person that dictated that move, which was Daniel Jones.
Yeah, true.
Like
Daniel Jones.
The reason they moved off of Saquon was because they were paying Daniel Jones $40 million a year.
Well, now Daniel Jones is in Indianapolis getting ready to mentor Anthony Richardson. Two guys and competing in a mid-off to be the starting quarterback for the Colts. All right, speaking of Mount Rushmore goats or potential ones, Steph hit his 4,000th three-pointer, the most all-time by far. I was kind of surprised looking at this, like looking at some of the guys that Scott, at least you and I grew up watching, Reggie Miller. And let's see. Who else am I thinking of? There's somebody else on this list that I
Ray Allen.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Carter?
Ray Allen. Gosh, Ray Allen. Ray Allen and Reggie Miller. Two of the guys who in our minds are like, these are the unstoppable shooters, the best shooters that the earth has ever seen. And it's like, they're not even close to Steph Curry in terms of three-pointers made. I had no idea that he had pulled away this much. Did you?
I knew he was pulling away, but I didn't know it was roughly 1,000 higher than even the three happy James Harden. Like that's insane. But it goes to the point of like how much the game has changed since we were growing up. And I remember just seeing the ticker back in the day, old school Sports Center, like Stuart Scott, all those dudes talking, and like you would be kind of like floored to see a game that would go each team being in the triple digits. Like that would be crazy. But it's just par for the course these days. Like my wife was even saying the other day, she was watching the ticker too. She's like, 140 points in a basketball game. It's actually not cool. It's like, this isn't even fun to watch anymore. It's just like, what are we doing?
That's like what the All-Star games used to be.
Yeah.
Like now that is a every week occurrence in regular season games.
That's like the excitement of good offense can go too far. Like you've seen in basketball. And then defense goes, that's kind of, I don't know, the NFL is kind of pushing towards that with the overemphasis on offensive shootouts and like this new wave. I don't know. And it could go too far like the NBA.
True. Yeah. Watch, we're going to have NFL games 80-70.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Bengals. They seem to be going in that direction. Just, hey, let's focus on offense only. But I think, Nick, you brought this up when we were having this conversation, is there's a self-correcting mechanism of football itself that may have a ceiling on how much that can happen and how much the game can go toward the pass game, because you always need to be able to move the ball closer in order to have a chance to find those opportunities to throw the ball.
Yeah, but I'm not. I mean, like I think the NFL is run much better than the NBA, and they make smart decisions if they see anything actually trending in the wrong direction. I mean, look at how quickly the NFL makes decisions and improvements. So the fact that we had all of this drama with the first down markers this past year with the Chiefs and the Bills. Like, okay, boom, this offseason, NFL looking to use automatic chips in their measuring. Like they make these decisions and sometimes they go too far and then they revert them. But the NFL is quick with making decisions, always improving and optimizing the game. I wanted to pull this up. What did you think what did you think of this? If because we were talking about Steph Curry, if Steph Curry wasn't in the NBA, that LeBron would have 7 trophies, Jason Tatum would have 2, and Kevin Durant would never have won a trophy. What do you think?
Yeah, if Steph wasn't in the NBA, I think LeBron would be the GOAT. I think he would have usurped Michael Jordan's spot on the throne. I think Steph ultimately was the foil to LeBron James's career in the end. And once everything's all said and done, the one thing I am surprised, not to bring this back to the 4,000 3-pointer made, but one thing I was surprised is to see LeBron broke 50K points in his career recently.
Yeah.
And Steph just broke 25,000. He's only halfway to LeBron's
Damn.
scoring record, which was wildly surprising, like based off of how many threes he's made, how his game has improved, how many points he scores, or at least seemingly on the surface. So like that was a stat that threw me for a loop. I thought he would have been closer to like 35,000 at this point, because he's been playing for a long time.
That's actually really respectful. We were talking about it on the other show. He's like, hey, we always talk about how long LeBron's been in the league. Steph is also 37, 38 years old. Like he's got some years in there. So I'm surprised he's only has half the amount of points as LeBron. It is interesting because like when you're looking at this, a lot of the way that we perceive athletes come the end of their career is, okay, how many championships did you win? And you look at some of these guys that we think are pretty great quarterbacks in the NFL who so far not been able to win any championships. I'm thinking of guys like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and they just have the unfortunate situation of playing in the AFC at the same time as Patrick Mahomes. And will these guys be remembered completely differently because they were always blocked by Mahomes from getting to the Super Bowl and winning a championship?
This is the Jim Kelly curse, because you're in the era. The guy went to 4 straight Super Bowls and lost in all of them. It's unfortunate, but we need that part and those players to kind of always push the greats, the ones who end up on the Mount Rushmore or who always end up on the throne. Like they didn't end up there because there wasn't competition or there weren't guys that were this close to being as good as them. And that's what's so beautiful about the sports is like not everybody can be a winner. And that's what's so frustrating, I think, from my perspective as a fan in this day and age, that we're crowning everyone to be GOATs, right? We're saying, oh, greatest of all time for like 3 quarterbacks who are currently playing right now. It's like, what are we doing? Like, we can't be crowning dudes like that. Not everybody who comes into the league as like a first round draft pick is going to be a superstar, but yet we're in the media. We're always talking about them as though they are.
Yeah, that's true. And, you know, sometimes some people even on this show maybe are guilty of it. I won't name any names, but some people get caught up. They get excited when they see good touchdown passes. They want to be like, wow, I'm watching one of the best, Mikey. But you're right, we do have to pump the brakes a bit and say, you know, look at also it's interesting. Like a guy like, I don't think Charles Barkley ever won a championship, did he?
No,
he always blocked by Michael Jordan. Like these guys who are just always blocked, and we do have to wait and see before we can be naming people all-time greats.
What I do respect about Charles, and while it's unfortunate he didn't win a championship, what I do respect about him and his post-career sort of endeavors is he's always been very vocal about, look, I was all-star. I was cream of the crop. I was one of the best, like top 10 dudes in my era, right? At all times. But he can have the humility to point to Michael and be like, this dude was on another planet. How good he was. Even with the guys who I may have been competing with to be like 3, 4th best in the league, this guy was totally on another level. But I don't get the sense that we have that necessarily, or the players these days have that humility because they've been told their entire lives that they're God's gift to the world, and the next best great thing. So it's crazy to see that.
Look at Cam Newton. Think Cam Newton's ever going to show respect to another quarterback in the NFL? No.
Cam Newton is to Mikey as rugby is to me.
They always bring it up.
Find a way.
What's mine? What do I always bring up in the show?
Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, actually in Europe, they do it a little bit differently, okay? Speaking of Charles Barkley, look, he does have some great humility. He always has great lines. He said, I've been poor, I've been rich, I've been fat, I've been skinny. The Clippers have always sucked. So he blends that humility that he's got with some very humorous way of communicating. Okay. That's what we got today. All right, everybody. Mikey, Scott, it's a good one. Okay, Mike, I hope you get some sun for your van. And then you have energy in your van. All right.
Yes.
Good stuff. Everybody, thank you for watching. March Madness starting next week. Selection Sunday, this Sunday. Fun stuff ahead. All right, we will see you next time.